Hello, ladies and listeners. My name is Joey Tuason, your hairless host, and welcome to the Individual Collective Show. On today's episode, we have Miss Cherie Gil. She's a legendary actress here in the Philippines, and she'll give her thoughts on the Philippine film industry. This episode is brought to you by The Study by Endron. We're located here in Estancia. If you need co-working space or any classes that you want to take, check it out. And we are powered by DV Tech. DV Tech handles all our equipment here. So if you want to start your own podcast or media company or media things that you want to pull off, DV Tech is the company for you, and you can check them out on their Facebook page. And last but not the least, we are sponsored by Audible. If you like to read but you don't have the time, Audible's perfect. You can find summaries of books, you can find whole books in there, and it's a great platform to play the infinite game of learning. So without further ado, Madam Cherie Gil. Miss Cherie Gil,
All right.
welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here, Jojo.
Thank you for
How
coming.
can I say no? And besides, I always love talking to you.
Yeah, we have a very funny relationship because you are friends with my mom.
We're cousins.
You're cousins, yeah.
We're sisters almost.
Well, you're more
Joey.
friend.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
We're
sisters.
super close.
Super close. And I'm close to your kids.
Of course. I saw
Right.
you practically grow up. You and your brother, we are super close cousins.
Yeah, but now my mom lives in Bukidnon and your kids live in the States, so we decided to become friends.
I'm like your second mom in Manila.
You are
or
my-
also my rock when I need it.
Yes,
Yeah,
you-
we calm each other. I mean, we back each other up.
Definitely. We have great combos.
Now
so.
that you know the relationship, you understand why I just couldn't say no. No, but then I always enjoy hanging out with you, Joey.
Yeah, it's always
This
fun.
is great what you're doing. I like this idea. You always wanted to do this, right?
Yeah. Actually, you were one of the inspirations.
I was.
Yeah, so thank you very much. This is, it's coming to fruition because you talked me into it almost, right? In
Oh,
Dubai,
wow.
remember that conversation?
I'm happy,
Yeah.
and that's a great inspiration because you're such a go-getter and you work towards what you want without being drawn in different directions. And you know how it is, with the times and the millennials, so they say, so many opportunities, so many options, and
Yeah,
here you
especially
are,
today.
headstrong. You never wasted a minute.
Thank you.
Galing mo, Joey. Proud of you.
Enough about me.
Okay.
This show's about you today.
Okay. But we're all interconnected.
Yeah, we're all interconnected. So you were brought up in, obviously, the Eigenman family. Is there a certain pressure to be in the showbiz industry when you're inside the Eigenman family?
Pressure.
Or does it come from you? Like, it came from you internally, or is it kind of like if you're not in the showbiz, you're the black sheep?
Well, I also was the black sheep at the
Also.
same time. That's why when I started, it was just automatic. It wasn't planned coming from mom and dad who are in the business. I guess the pressure was subconscious that we already had to step up to the plate, that my parents already gave us enough experience and exposure to that what they do well, and they do that what they do well. So there was no better mentor for us to witness and learn from but from them, and we just picked up from there. And they set up a certain standard that was not something we felt we needed to apply. It just happened, It was just is. Maybe the temperament's the same, the genetic disposition's the same.
Yeah.
Experience also does that. The pressure, I think, is more of against myself, right? Doing something that I know I can do better, or I should do something now better than the last, because there's a saying that goes, you're only as good as your last film. So a lot of things have become quite challenging. I'd rather use it that way. Yeah. The pressure, I think, is keeping up and staying relevant for the long haul. And now with so many things happening in the business, in all genre and all platforms, it's becoming quite difficult to keep up, Joe, because like a lot of content are going online. We're going
Streaming.
right?
Yeah.
There's social media. There's the independent cinema.
Yeah.
There's so many festivals. We're now being spread out in different festivals in the world. So, there's a part of you that just wants to keep going, but
Yeah.
sometimes the body doesn't want anymore. You're tired now.
Yeah.
But, the creative juices just has to keep going. And I think that's a gift my family gave to us and to each other, because we just constantly want to do and create. And if I don't, me particularly, I wither. I get depressed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like seeing your father, who's Elvis Presley of the Philippines, seeing your mom act as well. I'm sure there's that kind of I want to be like them as a child in a way. Was there a little bit of that?
Always loved performing innately. I just was.
You had to perform as a kid, right? During
Yeah,
event, like
in parties.
in parties.
You know,
Yeah.
well, you were still not there yet.
I was born. I didn't exist yet.
We would volunteer with your mom, Tita Sylvia. We make shows, and every time there's a family party, well, for every wedding that happened in your family, we sang, my dad and I. I was like, suki na kami. There's already a repertoire. But I always really loved performing. Way as a child, I would step up and volunteer myself. And then in school, it just came to me as something I loved doing. And I guess I like the attention. I like the spotlight. No, I like expressing. I think I've come to realize that that's become my savior. And it's been good to me, work. So,
and people love it.
Oh, and I try to do my best because I feel that it's become almost like my therapy at the same time. And art is so close to life.
But it's also your stressor. It's your therapy and your stressor in a way. So how do you? It's like your.
Good point, Joey. I guess it's because it's a stress I know well. And it's a stress I can handle and manage.
Sort of used to it already.
Medyo may pagkamasokista.
Yeah.
Because it's something I grasp on when it comes to knowing that you're doing something creatively in the best way you know how, and it challenges you even more. You realize it's just, for me, I always said living a creative life is the best life one can ever have.
Why is that? Why do you think? Actually, Miro, our guest who's coming out next week, he actually mentioned the same thing.
Oh, how come you know it already? He's coming out next week.
Because we recorded. You caught me. Yeah, we've been here the whole day. We've been here the whole day.
Working hard.
Yeah, but she's second these. But yeah, why do you think creativity is so important? Is like sort of in your view?
It's what keeps the world and people once and for all interpersonally connected, and especially through art, and that should never go away, and whether it be through music, through films, through painting, through any kind of expression, any physical expression. Each of them have a specific discipline and a specific skill. Acting may seem to be maybe looking like the easiest one, but it also gives a different kind of demand from a person's whole instrument. And for me, given that it's emotions and mental application that is needed, it's a lot of work and stamina, and to be able to bring forth truth. That's the best part. And that's the part of what music does to you. It easily connects you to people who can identify and relate to you, especially if you can deliver it in the most truthful way. And the way to do it is also, in a way, an osmosis for my own growth as a human being, because I try as much as possible to be in touch with my own truth. So more and more now I can see when I know I'm faking it. Right? But there's also a technique to it. But if I watch movies I did when I was 13, I say, oh my God, what kind of acting is that? So campy. Nag-iiba na yung style. So, but,
But you've been very fortunate because, you enjoy being creative, and you're in a family background that was used to being creative. But there are a lot of kids out there who, let's say they want to be creative, they want to pursue a creative calling or creative passion, but their parents don't approve of it. How do you think they should approach that difficult conversation, right? Because you have the parents who supported you, and you also have kids, right? So how would you approach that situation?
I was reluctant when Bianca wanted to be to take up acting.
You were?
Super. I
Why?
was hoping that she wouldn't go take that degree.
Really? Usually people think that they would want their children to,
Well, I tried to convince her otherwise because she was in New York. And of course, I knew how much she loved it, and I knew that she was also good at it. But somehow, being an actress myself, having gone through the years that I've learned to be better and better and better, hopefully through experience, my life experience itself, the life itself will teach you. But again, she's in a milieu wherein, yes, it's competitive, extremely competitive. and the process there would be different because she'll be starting from scratch.
Yeah.
I had the luck of being the daughter of.
Yeah.
But that's why I stayed in the Philippines. But although there are times there was a big part of me when I was a teenager when I wanted to go away and study abroad and learn in Strasbourg and all those places. I asked mom if I could. Of course, it was a money thing and money issue, and it's not cheap, huh? But for whatever, I tried to ask her, please, Bianca, can you like get something that's more. Take up a degree that would be more guaranteeing employment because being an actor in America, especially in New York, could possibly bring about chronic unemployment. You go through auditions, rejections.
Very competitive there.
So it's more like a lot. If you think about it, the statistics there is like 10% or more working actors and 90% members of the guilds or equities are non-working at the moment.
Wow.
So it's very unpredictable. And she asks me, Mom, when I'm on stage, I'm happy. So how can I naman not agree because I know exactly the feeling. And boy, did she go through it with flying colors and she put her best into it and now she's going through what she has to go through and eventually she'll find her niche.
And by the way, it's her birthday today. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, yesterday, October, today.
Yeah, today in the States it's her birthday.
Right.
Yeah, but it was yesterday for us. So happy birthday, Bianca.
Yeah,
we love
said,
you.
You better tell Joey. Give me a shout out.
Yeah. Anyways, you're saying?
Yeah, so more like I think it's more of the parents, myself, protecting how I would feel when I see her eventually go through the process of difficulty, and it can be a struggle, the rejections, auditions, and I wish I could also be there to be like a stage mom, but buti na lang not because I would, and for that matter, in relation to how mommy brought me up, she set us free. So we had to also learn on.
Oh, she wasn't really like a mentor for you during.
She never went with me or went to the set. Never. She doesn't even know the works I've done in the years sometimes.
Well, there's a lot.
Yeah, well,
there's
she also because she was also busy working.
Yeah, that's true.
And so funny because we watched Habang Buhay, which was the recent 13 episode series that TVA and NCCA produced for the whole industry's 100 years celebration.
Wow.
And they interviewed icons like the late Genghis Khan, at least interviewed Gloria Romero, Anita Linda, who's now 92, I think.
Wow.
So they did the omnibus and they did the first episode, which was dedicated to the Eigenmans.
Wow.
So it was Michael and I talking and my parents. And after watching the whole hour, my mom was just in tears because we couldn't also help talk about my brother, my late brother, Tito Ralph, Mark Hill, as he's known. And mommy just went, I didn't realize you did that kind of work.
Really?
The level of work. I mean, there were just many others. She knew specific jobs or films, but the entire scope or the journey, she didn't realize I also did this and that, and they showed old clips. And so going back to your question, how do children approach and deal with that? I think every child will find themselves having difficulty discussing a world or a life of artistic creativity with their parents. I think it will always be an issue unless parents are more open-minded about it now and they can, support them in a way, and both financially and emotionally.
Yeah.
But
Well, in a way, Bianca's kind of living your dream off in the States.
there you go.
She's living your dream for you in a way, and maybe
I'm
that's her
vicarious.
homage for you. Right? Was there any advice that you gave her coming into the industry?
No, I can't. She knows so much more now than I. She advises me.
Oh,
yeah, Joe, when I go there and visit her and I'm bringing a script for a play, she's taking my notes down. Mommy this, mommy that, because she knows the technique and the theory that goes with it. I take it all in. And if there's any way of her expressing the curriculum that she's learning or how to actually verbalize it, because I cannot verbalize what I feel.
Yeah.
She can find a way to verbalize. She's very eloquent when it comes to that. And that's why she's also been able to direct.
Oh wow! She directed like short films and stuff.
She directed the short. She directed the whole play in high school. She also directed an off-Broadway play. So she can actually do every aspect of theater. What she chose to do and specialize in was classical. So I think now that you mention it, maybe it's a homage to both me and Tito Ronnie.
Yeah.
Because she may be an actress, but she only does, and not only does, but she prefers to do the Chekhovs, the Shakespeares, now that stuff.
Wow.
She also does combat. And so for whatever, it's like an epitome of all the Eigenmans that she
Yeah.
encompassed and legitimized our business, our family business, and she actually got herself a fantastic degree with honors. In
Wow.
fact, she received an achievement in acting in the classical
You
studio.
must be proud.
Oh, super.
And you can check her out at biancarogoff.com.
Yeah.
All her work's there, so check her out.
Yeah.
So from day one, Tita Cherie, you were a contribida at age 9.
Yeah.
They actually casted you for this movie, and then they needed a flashback, right?
Yeah.
And then they casted you as the girl who's beating up the other girl,
Maricel Soriano pulling her hair and grabbing her dot. I was already the naughty one.
You ever wonder what would happen if they casted you as the other girl?
Oh, it's happened a couple of times. Like the first one I did, Girlfriend, that was with Ishmael Bernal, one of my favorite directors who actually mentored me. It was a flop.
Yeah.
I played a few. I don't mind. Like this film I'm coming up now, Tia Madre. She's still mean, but of course she comes up with very poor demographics.
This is a scary one, right?
Yeah.
Scary one.
I'd rather play the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because it's more empowering, and I don't like crying.
Yeah.
You're the good guy. You
When
always
you're a
have to
good guy, you
cry.
always have to cry.
Yeah.
It's usually more emotional. Right?
Yeah, that's harder work.
And you showed me like something you're writing about how being a contribita actually helps you with your it's giving you different roles that you wouldn't have gotten, right?
Yeah.
Can you expound more on that?
Yeah. I think when you can play different types of strong women, I normally call them strong women, then you can create different physicalities and inner characters without having to live with or keep up with a certain formula or a peg for the protagonist. Because there's always that hero,
Yeah.
right? And or the heroine. So then there's a specific peg: sweet, nice girl,
Yeah.
girl next door. There's something about her that can't be dark. Although times are changing and they're creating many beautiful stories wherein the protagonist is also human in many ways. So being that, I'm able to create strong women and play around, because then I can express the human condition more, which is basically not very bad.
Yeah.
We all have both sides.
We're all imperfect, right?
So I can play the dark side of me, and then find the whole, consciousness of finding out where I've done wrong and how to correct that. So it's a whole human journey and struggle. So it becomes, I think, to me, more interesting rather than just playing super guy all the way through.
You get scary stuff, you get mean stuff.
Yeah.
There's different emotions that you get casted for, right?
Yeah,
Rather
you can
than-
also play the badass woman holding
Yeah.
a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, who, like running a cartel. That would be nice. And I can also be the mean mom, mean anything, but at the same time loving.
Yeah.
So I can create a character. So normally, I'm better known or better thought of rather as a character actress, so that I don't have to continue having to play the good guy playing the lead, because I'll have to continue maintaining that. And I think that's why the longevity of the family has become, we're able to play different roles. Like I can jump from a cameo and still play the lead in a film,
Yeah.
and then a support. And that's what I enjoy. And I can still do theater. And that's what makes me feel that that's the path that I actually undertook without planning. The opportunities and the privileges that came to me were like destiny, and I was happy to grab at all those. And I was just lucky that the path that led me to up until this day, after 45 almost years in the business, has made me feel that I had created for myself the concept of what it is to be an actor.
Definitely. But is it draining though to be the contributor all the time? Because you have to play these roles where sometimes it's really dark, and you have to get into the mindset of these people, right? Kind of like the Joker movie, like when Joaquin Phoenix had to like go through all that just to get skinny and all that.
Yeah, that's tough. They do it differently. I mean, you really need to have a great grounding, strong mind and will to not get strayed out of. Because first of all, what he did, he lost weight. That in itself can affect you in all ways,
Yeah.
right? Psychologically, emotionally, physically. But I guess he's managed himself very well, that he never got himself drawn into the darkness of Joker, but
Yeah.
instead into the technique of performing his his laughter. He studied it in a more technical way. I'm sure he also got caught up with that.
Yeah. You can get that skinny and not go a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I get crazy anyway. I mean, they go through the films for years.
Yeah.
At least for us, it's short-lived. We don't have much time to really prepare, even if we wanted to. So yeah, it can get draining because I tend to be, especially if it's a soap. Like I'm 3 times a week taping. I tend to become that way. I have to carry it without my wanting to. But I can play around when I play. But I play with them also in that character that becomes amusing for them to hear because they kind of play me up as a mother bitch. They call me Mother B, in fact, in the network. So when I sarcastically make jokes, they kind of, I get away with it. Like, don't call me tita. Them, they find it like thrilling. Some people, if they said it, tipati ka naman ito, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of got that,
it works for
permission, right?
Yeah, it works for many situations too. I remember one time we got pulled over.
Yeah.
And then you just rolled down your window, and she goes, "Ay, sorry." He was scared.
Yeah,
the cop was scared.
We were color-coded, I think.
Yeah, we were color-coded. So and then he was just like, "Ay, sorry."
Yeah,
he didn't want to get shouted at. He didn't want to
But it also doesn't work sometimes. Like I go buy clothes like earlier because I want to like dress up for your video. And I dressed up like I was going to visit you at home. Like every day we get together. And I said, that's Joe. I can come with Chinela. So I went down, rushed to a shop downstairs and got me outfit. It took me 30 minutes because all they did was stare.
Oh my gosh.
What size is this? Sandali lang. They're so nervous, so nothing happens. Kayo talaga. So I joke with them, right? Yeah. But it's okay. I get away with some, and it also becomes a hindrance. Like when I want to hire help, they're afraid of me. No, I will admit that I do. It takes me into the roles.
Yeah.
And
how do you offset that? Because
we're not taught how to get out of character.
Really?
So what I do is I try to get out for a while, take a break, go to some greens and breathe air. Like I go to Bukidnon. Thank God I have that respite. And then, like I was doing my last soap with, what was the last one? It lasted 6 months.
Oh.
And I noticed how different and difficult it is pala to shift back. Because I took a break during Christmas and I went to Bali. For the first time, I did it on my own. And I did a spiritual journey. I did yoga,
those cleansing stuff.
Yeah, it was my way of treating myself for the first time. I did it on my own. So, and there's something about Bali that's very mystical in its ways. It's Hinduism, so they have a lot of religious festivals, and so you're surrounded by that. And then I climbed the Mount Batur, so it was a very strong awakening of sorts of the spirit without realizing it's happening to you subliminally. By the time I got back to work, I couldn't get into my lines.
I
couldn't
gosh.
get into the level of shouting on nanay.
Nanay.
I couldn't take 5, take 6. It took a while because I was in a very peaceful state. So yes, it can agitate the inside. So when I go back home and deal with life, I can get short. Yeah. So it gets, we become bipolar.
Does comedy, like watching comedy, help? I know you were in Champoy for 6 years. I didn't know it went on for 6 years. Yeah. It's a long time to be in comedy, actually.
Oh, that was the best time of my life.
Really?
Yeah, life was carefree and happy and fun. There was no bugnot, no sungit. Yeah. I get caught in all this kontrabida, which is also, it takes its toll as a person. And I still have to learn how to draw the line. Yeah.
Does like watching comedy shows on Netflix help offset it a bit? Or?
Netflix definitely.
Just Netflix in general.
Comedy is hard when I'm in that mode. It takes a long time for me to laugh. It needs some kind of good humor for me to laugh. So I watch comedy series, but stand-up comedy like that. Like, does it make me laugh easily? Or I hang out with friends that are funny. And the moment like with you, Joe, when we hang out, a few here and there, nice glass of wine, and we're on the roll. We find things to laugh about that are like, the
simple things in life.
Actually, the kababawans, but the actual happenings that we experience, sometimes we can find that they're funny in itself.
Now, what's your like Netflix to browsing ratio? Like your watching to browsing ratio? Because I'm a browser. When I'm on Netflix, I'm browsing maybe 60% of the time. I watch maybe 40%. What are your percentages?
Wow, I get into something only when I hear about it. And maybe,
word of mouth.
Yeah, and so I don't really delve and have time to stay in bed all day to browse, but I will pick on one and just sometimes to just get me to sleep. Oh, this is interesting. So I don't take a long time searching, and then there are those that continue watching.
Yeah.
I go back to those. But once I get into a binge, I can marathon it. Oh my God, because I jumped from Amazon Prime to HBO.
You got Prime.
Yeah. So I have
why.
all this.
You have choices now.
Wala na akong cable because. I guess it's as an actor, it's important for us to also be fed with whatever is happening out there. And
outside.
just yesterday, I was watching another Phoebe Walter script who won Best Actress and Writer for Fleabag. Amazing. Crashing. Every episode now is 20, 30 minutes. It's shorter and shorter and shorter. And she's funny. And she's so out of the box. So things like that I like to watch.
Is there someone who like you trust when someone says, you gotta watch this episode or this show? Is there someone who comes to mind like, okay, as soon as he tells me, I'm watching?
For sure.
Who?
I have those guys, mentors.
Oh, you have a lot?
No, two.
Two.
Well, yeah, three. They're family. They've been my close friends. Mark Higgins and Michael Salientes. Oh my God, they're like film buffs and series buffs. Some of them are not even there. I don't know how he finds it. So he gives me, and he's exposed me to all actors and directors I have never seen before. Not only America. They've become my major influencers. And how Mark has also educated me with not only film but also history and fashion, and they've been my good friends. And so smart.
They should start a blog or something.
Wow, I don't know if they'll have time. They run a school. Michael is he's our the top stylist of the country, and Mark Higgins is the owner. He teaches in Slims. They run Slims. So the mind of this man, he knows a lot. And you go to him, he's a trove of information. When I would research for play characters, like I did Full Gallop with Deanna Vreeland, forget about it. He knows her like the palm of his hand. So every question I asked, he was my point of reference. And I did master class. And in fact, they're the ones who push me to push myself, to do bigger things, to do better projects.
Support system and people who...
You bet. Lucky. Super lucky, because I feel it's a blessing that they allow me in their circle, which means why will I let them down if they have that belief in me?
Yeah.
So a lot of their influence, like Full Gallop was very much also their influence, but their not influence, but also the concept. So I guess it still has to come from me. I get drawn, and with, like you said, support group that they can really get shot, because I know it. They don't want, the moment I stop, I'll get into a rut, and they'll see me go into my own life's drama. So
speaking of some of the work that you've done, I mean, you've seen a lot of scripts over the years, right? What makes a script great, in your opinion?
Oh, the writing. Oh, well, of course, the writing is a script. The dialogue.
The paper.
Yeah. The font.
It's type 4.
The font. Well thought out, and the character is well thought out and clear.
But what makes a writing well thought out, in your opinion? Like, what makes good writing?
Well, there are formulas wherein the flow, as they say, the beginning always has to be great. There's a beginning, middle, and end. For me, it's how the journey of a character is so clearly thought out. And sometimes there are scripts I've read recently, which is now becoming common in independent scenes, where they're practically very thin. There are no dialogues.
Wow.
Mostly very quiet films. And that's what fascinates me, because you can read in the way it's written the actual picture like you were reading a book. So you're basically visualizing the vision of that director, and you wonder how he's going to manage to execute that, and that to me makes it very interesting.
Yeah,
so I did Mirador. It was only like 40 pages, practically no dialogue, and that's for me also very challenging to express, because then it becomes a real collaboration between me and the director. So there's room. There's a lot of room. It's not a tightly formulaic.
So you have room to collaborate as well, in a sense. What are the characteristics of your ideal director, or ideal directors you want to work with in the future?
Well, one who is able to know exactly what he's doing and what visions he wants to see, and always collaborative and generous. I also realized I grew up in the genre of the big names such as Bernal, who I learned from, and greats. And in those days, since we didn't have schools, we got shouted at. We get ashtrays thrown at us.
Wow.
So we basically decide to function and learn through fear.
Wow. So they power tripped in a sense.
Could be, or they also probably thought, yeah, maybe they felt I was stupid, or just they just know more than me. I don't know, power trip, I guess. But nowadays, I realize that if you treat them with a lot of generosity and respect and collaboration, I think for any human being, that even more so, you become more able to grow out of your fears and even flourish some more, and you're able to just float if you're accepted with the way that you are, and given the belief and trust that you'll deliver. So I like directors who say after a shot, thank you, because basically they're the ones who asks you to deliver and cut. And I like directors to say some kind of, that was good, maybe we should try again, let's try it this time again, without saying the negative aspect, because it's always coming from a better place of optimism, wherein you can let any person bloom, especially when the person feels loved and affirmed, especially for actors. Especially because we're quite self-centered. Diba? We always are insecure, we worry, did we do good, did we do enough? We all need feedback. So yeah, that's what I'd also like to be able to, and very collaborative directors. Yeah.
Cool. I was watching actually a Philippine documentary on the Filipino film industry, and they were talking about, it's called Pelikula. Have you seen that?
Oh, okay. No, I haven't.
It's really
boring.
Watch
Habang Buhay. I give an
Better?
episode for sure.
Yeah, and the audio was kind of bad, and they just showed a bunch of old stuff, but it was a terrible documentary actually, but had some interesting key points. They said like in the 50s was it? Do you agree like the 50s was kind of like the golden era back then? Can you talk about that, because your mom was in that scene?
Well, that was a time when it was like the stars, movie stars were really movie stars. I mean, I remember Mom saying they were not allowed to leave their homes unless they were all dolled up and made up. They were trained to get dressed like they were really bigger than life. They shouldn't be seen in the grocery store without makeup, without lesser than what they are on screen. They feel at that time that the audience or the fans should continue to see them the way they look up to them as stars. Once they see you come out there as a human being, it doesn't work at that time. That's why they call it the golden era. And the old way of training, they're very, very professional. They spent more time doing work on a film. Now it gets less and less. The budgets are less. And at the same time, unfortunately, the craft of filmmaking also gets affected along the way, because the time is shorter, the fundings are shorter, and there's a dime a dozen filmmaker among the young. So I'm hoping something can change, really, Joey, because if creativity is your passion and your art and your expression, it would also help if you made a living out of it. And sadly, it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be poor. You shouldn't be poor. And I hope that the industry gets professionalized and not get greedy and one-sided, that only the producers and the networks will be the ones making the big bucks. Because it's all corporate.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, but it's been a long battle since I remember. Since time immemorial, my dad was president of Kapisanan ng mga artista ng pelikula. Mga kapisanan ng mga artista ng pelikulang Filipino. And I would be helping him with the mimeograph pa. Xerox, like that. Xerox. Photocopy, Xerox ang tawag namin nun. Yeah, and in fact, I remember he was doing a TV show, weekly variety show, and he was fired for doing whatever he was trying to do as the president of the guild.
Wow.
Because he had to try to make change. Yeah.
Wow, that sucks.
This was his story. And then thereafter came many more movers, like Lino Broca, who was an activist and kept on fighting for the workers. And then there was Joseph Estrada, who came up with the Moel Fund to give an educational system for the lower brackets of the filmmaking industry, like the cameraman, the assistant cameraman, the assistant directors, like a guild of sorts. And then FPJ run as president. And at that point, things happened and things were changing. And people, all of us, we cooperated and we felt so united.
When was this?
Actors Guild, 80s.
In the 80s, yeah. Because in the documentary, it sort of went through. It said 50s was the golden era because you had sort of film studios set up, right? Or production companies that a lot of them, they had projects lined up for the whole year.
Yes.
But sort of in the 60s, it sort of died down, and then in the 70s you had independent artists who were on a per project basis, and so the only way to like get hits was to have a lot of nudity.
Yeah, that was the era.
In the 70s, right? The Bomba era, right? But then you came into the game around the 80s, right? 80s, 90s.
Yeah, there was also the sexy, not bomba, but the sexy trend shifting from the 70s and getting young girls to kind of be sexy.
Really?
Like wearing bikini. Yeah, I was then 15. It was like having a boyfriend, having a kissing scene, having my back shown. I was with Mother Lily and the Regal Babies. It was that kind of thing. It was a slew of sexy actors at the time until Bernal plucked me out and I did more serious stuff. But that was what it was. They were campy movies, but good films. They were not bad films. They were fun to watch, like Temptation Island, Beach House, Joey Gosling, Elwood Paris. I mean, they were one of those films that you would watch, like Mean Girls, or the young kids getting around and hanging out in the beach, falling in love with each other, that fun stuff. So that's how I started. The patterns, I guess, depends also on how the trend goes. You know, how the studios begin to change the scope of the economy, the economics of it, because it also depends on the theater owners and how many theaters are there for us to be shown. So I'm not sure if it's getting better, but I guess it's just changing right now. It's going into the digital. Maybe not better. Maybe that's not the word, Joe. I'm more of a skeptic now because I've been in there too long and I've experienced what it was like to make films for 25 days, 30 days, 40 days, and you can make 4 movies a year. Lagare is what we call.
Wow.
Now it's far and few, and sometimes we make films they're not even shown.
Wow.
That's a lot of money wasted, and budgets have fallen down. So how can you? It's a catch-22 situation. How can you make even better films, at least in its craft? In the craft.
Because people when they think Filipino films, a lot of people think, okay, it's corny, it's kind of baduy. Why do you think we have that stigma? Is it because of the low budgets and whatnot?
Script development. We need
Mostly
to have
script
more
as well.
time. We just rush too much. Like recently, I did the film only in 7 days. I don't know how the kids are doing it. I would to the point that of course the story flow was affected because we had to drop some.
But I guess because I read an article that there are more movies being made now.
Yes.
Right? So maybe that has something to do with it as well.
That's due to the festivals also propagating, diba? So giving more and more chances for young filmmakers who come out there and make their movie. So they're funded with smaller amounts unless they find their own funding. It would be nice if they owned it as well, but they don't really. So maybe something would be different. I don't know, in the economic sense. But you know, when you're happy and you create and you're happy now, and you have. When I was a kid in teenage life, it wasn't about making money. I really liked doing it just because I enjoyed going to the set and hanging out with my friends. It was best in the fun times. We were a small family. Really, we knew each other, and I wasn't thinking about money. It was having fun. It was a carefree life. So I guess. At that point, at that age, I think it's the same. They're happy to do things together, and they have a tribe, so to speak. They have a community to work with, and that gives them a place of home and grounding. Because sometimes creativity can also go helter-skelter, and you know, without any kind of boundaries, then they're all over the place. They can even get into drugs or get lost somewhere along the way. They're hard. So I think it's also okay that there are those platforms that gives them a certain structure and the ability and the opportunity to do their films.
Well, there has been some progress, I think, because in 1990, I was listening to this talk where they said they raised the amusement tax to 30%, right?
That killed it also.
That really killed it. The
You're
movie, like the amount of movies just dropped like drastically, right? And so like 30% went to the government. You had 12% VAT. And then the rest, you had split with the theater and then the producer, right? So you had a small, that 58% was split into two for...
There you go.
For the, and then so you had lower budgets. They were also afraid to take risks, maybe.
Yeah, of course.
But in 2009, it went back down to 10%.
Right. And also they came up with the Metro Film Fest, wherein if you are on a rated A, certain ratings give you free tax.
Wow.
So they have incentives.
Do they have grants as well?
This is a question I can't answer. They should be getting, I think FDCP's there also to give grants, but not everybody can get the grants. They have the NCCA, they get outside funding, they have to find stockholders themselves. They have to, now at least point, these kids are more of go-getters, so it's actually opening up more globally.
Yeah.
So they're able now to reach out to foreign investors because there are markets that they are welcomed in, like in Busan, in Tokyo, Hong Kong, and the Filipinos are given a lot of attention now.
Actually, Korean fans also like Filipino movies now. It's starting to come, and we know K-pop, right, is huge, and that's because like the government, right, they set a quota on how many Korean movies have to be shown in the cinema
because they're subsidized and they really, really support it.
Yeah,
and because if you don't make money the first day, they pull you out regardless. So there's that control of the theater exhibitors. Like what we really need talaga, I think, is that for us to keep up is to have more funding and more craft and script development, and to actually really invite more people to educate us in how to develop the craft, on how to use cameras, on how to properly make the most of these things. But also a lot of it is funding.
Yeah. Well, do you think that this budget constraint, do you think that actually gives the opportunity for Filipino writers to be more creative since they have this constraint, or do you think it's just this hump that we have to get over?
Every film has to start with the script, and if it's a good script, well polished from the beginning, then it's easier already to execute. But you'd also be surprised when I'm in a set and we're trying to finish a movie in 7 days, and they're rushing the scene, and we're doing like how many scenes a day? Like maybe 20, like we're doing a soap, right? And it's a horror. So, I mean, if you compare what they might have done with this in America, they're in this film studio where they can put green screens all over, green backdrop, chroma, and everything CGI. That saves a lot of time, a lot of money, but expensive, diba? So we do everything real. So iba rin ang Pilipino sa ganyan. So the lightman comes and tries to improvise because he's hurrying, and he breaks the black paper and puts through the light, and they improvise everything. And I'm watching, I'm saying, tayo lang yan, kaya natin yan, because we're good in improvising, making the most of what is there and resources. Hindi kaya naman Amerikanong ganyan. They pre-plan, they have to make things first safe, they have to make things also functional and efficient. So their gadgets are unbelievable. Mahal naman, di ba? So kawawa nga eh. Well, that's first world, we're third world. Whatever. We're still good at what we do.
I think maybe perhaps the government doesn't understand the power of film and how it can actually be great for the economy. I mean, like Korea, they make so much money through their film industry. The U.S. makes the most, obviously, but even like places like New Zealand, because they shot The Hobbit there, they shot Lord of the Rings there, it's sort of become this place where people come in and use this scenery. It's great for tourism too, because like back then, people. Now they're like, I want to go to Korea because of all these K-pop shows, or I want a Samsung, I want a Kia, because you see it in all the shows. They integrated their products into exactly,
supported, no?
And it just boosts it.
Yeah, that's why it's corporate run. For us, not much the government, because especially this government. I'm not going to say anything, but I mean, we've had also experimental cinema before, and we placed ourselves in the map almost. We had the International Film Festival presented here. It was also because to draw people to come and shoot here, and that's the biggest way also for us to gain income for local workers to be able to work, because there's like this deal that if you have foreign investors, you have to also get a local crew, so there's that kind of a balance, and of course a certain amount, and to be able, and because they have the budget, right? But with we've been very inconsistent with the uprising that goes on in our government, in our day-to-day life, plus the traffic. It won't get anywhere far.
Oh, that I'm sure has a lot of that causes a lot of problems when you're going to these far places, or even within Manila.
Remember they came to shoot Bourne Identity? That brought a lot of funding for for Manila. But they closed the streets somewhere in Manila area, so it also jumbled up the life of the Filipinos at the time. But of course, it was very well controlled because anyway, they gained money. I guess it would be great to be able to show parts of the Philippines outside of Manila because we do have beautiful locations. And it's a matter of really getting them to come here and shoot. And it's giving them carte blanche of knowing that they're safe and not, these places are not given red alerts.
because some people, like some countries, think the Philippines, oh, there's terrorism there, don't go there, especially Mindanao. But
Mindanao is so beautiful.
yeah, exactly.
So many places,
Sayang.
nothing yet has been shown in films, diba? Sayang.
And it's crazy though, because we in the 50s you had amazing movies, and there was like this one movie, Genghis Khan, and they had the horses and like really big sets, right?
Yeah.
But where did the budget come back then? It came from
I wish I knew then. That time I wasn't part of that scene yet. I'll study it. I'll ask them.
That's your homework.
I guess it was so yeah, my homework. Good. You did your homework, huh? Yeah, we did massive filmmaking. I think also we were producing it as something new for the people, to a new form of entertainment. It was really glossy. Even when it started in black and white, that was the only form of entertainment people had next to radio. Wala pang TV.
Wow. So you also have a passion to teach, right? And you mentioned earlier that education and teaching people like script writing and all that's very important. And you're planning to start this sort of master class where you're teaching the next generation. So tell me a little bit about your curriculum that you have in mind.
I'm actually building it yet, but you're right to ask me that now because I want to incorporate more than anything. I cannot teach acting. I may be able to give some pointers on or share experiences, but that has to come from within. So what I believe is the ability to act or deliver and express oneself is to be able to let the inner person grow and bloom and trust herself. So that has to be in an environment of safety and a sense of love and a sense of warmth. And given that camaraderie in that community, then it's so much easier to flow, like I said earlier. So I'm creating that as a part of my curriculum, that for me, it starts with the physical body. Yoga is something I always rely on. Give it a 20-minute warm-up, although I wasn't able to. These days, my body's becoming sluggish because of my knee issue, but I'm getting there. I'm developing, and it's getting stronger. So I do my stretching in any which way because the body needs it. The body needs to be awakened and get all that serotonin levels going. You need to keep the mind sharp. So then I go into a workbook scenario wherein they can understand themselves better and they can be asked questions, whether it be writing. I think writing is very important because then it's basically taken in. It's like a journal. Then I give games, and then I can give games in acting and expressing and just being able to connect with one another. They just have to feel relaxed first with themselves before they can get into the actual process of scene study or character study or like script analysis. This is a bigger play on how to work with the instrument, and it takes so much more before you can get there.
It's holistic. It's more a holistic approach to.
And then I also would like to invite people to talk talk about filmmaking 101. Like there are times the actor needs to also express to the other departments of filmmaking on how they should deal with each other. And there are workshops in the past where there were directors and actors workshops put together. Wow. Because I attended that. And that was essential because then you create a jargon, a language that works within the confines, that's safe, and that there's an understanding without anyone getting offended, and the manner of which. So then already there's that immediate connection that it's so much easier then to flow with the collaboration. With actors, there's certain departments that the makeup or the wardrobe, they're the first people that go direct hand in hand, that go work along with them. So a lot of these are not being taught in schools of makeup or wardrobe or styling, but the process of how the working environment should be in terms of its professionalism and time management, a lot can be said on how to go about it properly. And I don't mind sharing that also because I've experienced it and it can happen. Time is saved, managed as long as it's properly planned, pre-production, and stepping up to the plate, knowing you're confident and the respect you have for the actor. So when you're not sure of what you're doing, I will not be able to connect with you right away. I will doubt everything that we're collaborating on, and I'll just get fed up. So it's not the best starting point, no?
Yeah.
That I would like to talk about. Ethics, maybe, the process of working, how to call it, the environmental
Dealing with
aspects of
criticism.
it, dealing with criticism, how to not take it personally when it's work, because people end up crying. They hate me at the end of the day, right? But some of them have produced better understanding of what I tried to do. That I had this group of young kids in a soap, and I would really tell them the way it is, and then they would like cower. But after we finished the whole soap, on the 5th month, we had a party, and they all came to me with shot glasses. Miss Cherie, cheers! Like they learned so much.
Wow.
I guess they want to. So sometimes it's being tough or being a bitch sometimes, but again, in the manner of saying. Sometimes I don't say it nice anymore when I'm short, but I apologize. So those are the little things that I think can must be tapped and discussed, especially now with the many young filmmakers that they have no idea what it's like to, because I experienced it already in the set of Peke Galiaga. He leads that ship like a true captain. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And when you think about, like, let's say people who want to become an actor today, I don't know if there's an acting school here. Is there? There's zero?
There's only one actor's workshop.
That's it? Oh my gosh. See, that's also the problem.
So the productions, they get their own teachers from abroad. They come here to give them their own talents, some kind of workshop. And then they also have a local teacher that continues to hone the new discoveries. But it's not a continuous development of 4 years. No. There's Benil, there's acting school, there's theater in UP Dulaang Filipino. But again, it's theater, and it's a different milieu. It's Tagalog and nationalistic and Pinoy. I mean, that's great. That's great that we have that. But it's limited, di ba? But for actual 4-year course acting, none.
Wala. Will yours be?
I may be wrong.
Yeah.
They have Mint now. I don't know if they have that as a form.
Not sure. I think they're more music. But yeah, that's crazy. Like, I'm sure there are people out there, from all walks of life in living in the Philippines who say, I want to be an actor.
Yeah.
Or I want to be an actress.
Yeah.
But there's no... The only way is like if you're good looking and then like they get you and then
they become personalities. So that's why the likes of Leia and Mensch, they become amazing actors because their experiences through the years. They had amazing teachers in theater. The training of a true actor in this country comes from theater. But the moment they face themselves into TV and film, it's different.
Yeah.
It's a whole different style.
Yeah.
So for
What
that,
is the
there are
styles?
classes just specifically for that. When Bianca was sharing with me her lessons, she would take one whole day studying just the voice.
Wow.
Yeah, every day.
So she would talk in that voice to you?
She would have voice classes, like not one whole day, have hours every day. They just focus on the voice. 2 hours every day, just the voice. And then there's another lesson how to work in front of the camera. Then there's another how to understand the text. And that's day and night, day and night. And then there's dancing, there's combat, there's jazz, there's ballet.
That's true. Combat's a huge part of
4
it.
years.
Wow.
4 years. She did it in 5.
That's what we need though.
Bilib nga ako eh.
That's what we need here.
Yes.
That would be great because I mean you sort of have the same pool of actors and you don't have any room for new people to come in the game and people who, let's say, who aren't part of someone who's famous before, who just want to start on their own. It's kind of sad.
Yes, I really wish I had the right chops to know how to start that. But I have had many opportunities. People have approached me like, let's put up set, let's create an NYU space in Manila. Things
That would
like
be
that.
great.
Yeah, or
You should do it.
yeah, well, I have to teach first myself. I'm still busy purging. I have too many things going on in my life. Maybe Bianca, she can probably
Bianca.
do that. Then there's Mint, and yeah, I think we can get there. If not, only that there's no monopoly of talent because now there's a monopoly of stars. They can create them themselves. When you have a strong machinery in ABS or strong machinery in GMA, then they're competing with each other. They hawak nila yung mga artists. Now, I hope that if such a school like that, they become professionalized after they finish and they get absorbed. Because
Absorbed
they already
too?
have
Absorb to who?
To the work field.
To the work
because
field.
they themselves, like the soap opera, Star Magic and all that, they already have their own.
So,
This is my theory.
So they wouldn't be with Star Magic and...
They can get plucked out if they are fantastic and they see the potential. They won't finish the 4 years. They'll work na agad. It's a job that can be fed right away without having to go to school. And if they need that job, why not? They can be stars overnight and make millions. Why would I go 4 years and train myself?
That's true.
So it's those purists talaga who really, really want to get better. And those are the ones who go away. And then that's that. There are a few that have attended courses, like I did some short courses. I attended 3 weeks of Lee Sasper. There are times that I have time when I'm in New York. Or I did one class in HB Studios. I did a few with Eric Morris. But it's not like a four-year course, right? Where you get full-on training.
Wow.
And you can just become anything as an actor, whether it be in film, television, or theater.
Yeah, that's what
you
we
can
need.
just, move in all.
If you were to start anew today, what would you pursue? Would it still be acting? Do you have any other things that you thought about doing?
Yeah, I can't stop thinking of what I want to do, really. Well, aside from doing a class, I really, really want to write this one story, and in fact, even direct it. Yeah, so
What's the story about?
I've always had it as a passion project since before pa. It's about the house in Pio and my family's ancestry, and things are just getting to be more and more clear. I'm discovering real pictures. In my script before, I said, we go inside, we discover boxes, and we find pictures of the old, and that's where we flash back. Very straightforward, almost bioepic. Is that what they call it? Yeah, bioepic. But almost, but with a story. So, the bio-docu, they call it too, right? Something like that, docu-film, something. So now, in actual reality, Joe, I'm hearing from my mom, they just discovered the last will and testament of my great-grandmother and pictures and all, and the lineage of that. But I want it set in where the house still is.
And this is like a legendary house?
Yeah, it exists.
Is this the one with the bell?
Yeah. That's the church, a circular church, which in fact is going through a fundraising now because it was hit by the earthquake. And so I'm trying to find a way to get, whatever way.
What made it famous was the shape, right? Because it was the first one to have that shape, right?
Yeah, and it's just sitting there. It's a white elephant, and people are there around there squatting already, and it's been abandoned.
I'll watch your film.
short of my storage. Yeah. But it means something to me, and as they say, if there's something that really nudges at you and that you have a story to tell that only you have access about, then show it. You never know. I mean, for me, I think it's just a matter of expressing it, finally putting it down. And it's also my own homage to Ralph, my Tito Ralph, because he loved the family and he loved that place. He was like the little mayor of that place. He's so connected to that past. So I think, that's what I would like to do.
Okay, well, before we wrap up, are there any book recommendations that...
Contra Vida, Contra Diva.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming up soon.
Your own book?
Yeah, it's just a baby book of musings and quotes. It's an easy read. It's nothing heavy. And already I posted about it. I'm getting nervous because my friends are the first ones to say, when is it? We'll do a review. We'll cover it. I mean, my friends in the business, I'm like, okay, I hope they're not expecting so much as a novel.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one. It will depend on how this impacts. But about books, I haven't been able to read. I've been watching Netflix. Let's see. I finished The Big Magic of Elizabeth Gilbert, the one who wrote Eat, Pray, and Love.
That's good.
I love her. I follow her on Instagram. That's about it right now. Artist's Way. I still have to find another copy because I lost it.
Artist's Way. What's that about?
It's a workbook of the process of creating.
Interesting.
What books pa? I'm really not so much a reader. I have ADHD. My attention span is very, very short. So I have tons of books in my storage, but what I keep in my shelves are those that I really, really read. And they're just a few. I start a book, and if it doesn't take on, I look at the back and I finish it already.
Yeah, I feel like you don't need to finish a book. As long as you get the core essence of it.
Unless you're a real reader and you have favorite authors.
Yeah.
I like to read people like that.
Well, Tita Cherie, thank you so
I'm
much
so
for your
glad
time.
to discuss. I hope that
That was a lot of
there were
fun.
fresh stuff that we never really talked about.
Yeah, there was.
Right?
There was.
A lot,
There was a
because
lot.
normally it's about How's Rafa? How's Bianca? And all the crazy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.
And
Cut.